Hello. Today, another current event, the BRICS. We'll see the entire history of the BRICS, how it started, how it evolved, how it expanded, why it expanded, how big is BRICS, how does it compare to G7, and where are we going? What do we want? Why is India there? Is BRICS being dominated by China? What's India doing about it? And what are the economic initiatives of BRICS? That is, your people are talking about a non-existing issue called the common currency. People are talking about Mbridge, BRICS Unit, BRICS Pay, and so on. The new development bank, of course, for the last 12 years. The contingent reserve arrangement, of course, for the last 12 years. The two being the counterparts, though in infancy, of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. We'll track all that, brick by brick. And of course, India is hosting the summit of BRICS this year, next month. And we'll see what India expects from BRICS. So let's get down to the brick by brick analysis of the grouping. Start from basics. So you know it all started about 25 years back. That's when Jim O'Neill, he was the lead economist of Goldman Sachs, the investment bank. He thought, here is Brazil, Russia, India, China, 4 countries, big countries, emerging economies, opening up, huge markets, lot of room for investment, both direct and portfolio, lot of room for trade. So much money to be made by the Western countries in these 4 countries. Let's make an acronym out of it and push it into the market. BRIC. That is how it all started. Jim O'Neill later went on to become a member of House of Lords in UK, and of course he also became a Treasury Secretary in UK. Now, the acronym caught on because acronyms have a pretty fast way of catching on, and by 2006 the 4 foreign ministers met, attracted by the acronym and the accompanying potential. And in 2009, the first summit took place in Yekaterinburg in Russia. And remember 2009? If you remember 2009, you would even more remember 2008. That is when the global financial crisis blew out. That is when the subprime crisis, as we used to call the global financial crisis, the meltdown of American economy, Western economies, and as a consequence the rest of the world happened because of their reckless speculation and so on and so forth. And that is when the writing on the wall became clear that Western economies led by the American economy were on decline. Slow but sure decline. And China and Russia wanted to grab the opportunity to present themselves as an alternative. And India wanted to de-risk. India wanted to be also a face of the global south. India wanted another platform for cooperation. India wanted multilateralism and multipolarity. India wanted governance reforms. For example, the World Bank was imposing too many conditionalities. The IMF was imposing too many conditionalities. Welfare and socialist pattern were not allowed. India felt suffocated. So India wanted governance reforms. Also the United Nations, please recall, we are a strong candidate in the expansion program to become the permanent member of the UNSC with veto. So India wanted all this. India sensed an opportunity here. India jumped into the bandwagon, and so did Brazil. Brazil wanted to diversify. It was geographically close to America, but it sees itself as a prominent member of Global South and wanted to associate with China and Russia to hedge the foreign and economic policies. So these four countries came together, held the first summit in 2009. I distinctly remember teaching it in the class that produced toppers. And then comes 2014. They thought we are being held to ransom by World Bank and the IMF. And let's establish our own counterparts, New Development Bank as a parallel to, though working along with and augmenting the World Bank, and Contingent Reserve Arrangement, which mirrors the International Monetary Fund. So both of them were set up. NDB is operating, already lent billions of dollars worth of loans. I'll come back to NDB a little later. And of course, CRA is only on paper. Nobody needed its safety net. We are all pretty secure on the BOP front, and therefore CRA never got into action. And then comes 2024. That is when the BRICS, the original four, in 2010 they became 5. South Africa added on. And from 5 they jumped up to 10. Today you have Egypt, Ethiopia, UAE, Iran and Indonesia added. And of course you had the Argentina also asking for membership. When it was granted, it declined and walked out because of Trumpian pressure. Even Saudi Arabia has only 1 foot in it. Saudi Arabia attends as a guest. It is not a full-fledged member. Once again, look to culprit Donald Trump, who is pressuring Saudi Arabia not to join the BRICS Plus. So you have only 10 member countries. The area they occupy, the GDP that they represent, both in exchange rate terms and PPP, purchasing power parity terms, and also the trade in the world that they represent, the intra-grouping trade, all these are big numbers which rival and go beyond the G7. You will see that in the slide as a table when we get there after our introductory discussion. So yes, you are 10 members now. So you have expanded, and this year India will host the summit, and next year China will host the summit. Remember, BRICS. Alphabetically, it rotates. Brazil requested that it will hold it in 2025, and Russia held it in 2024. This is India's moment. Next year, of course, is China alphabetically. So now, why BRICS? What are we proving? What do we want? See, it's a platform for cooperation. Remember, we are not seeking to rival anyone, challenge anyone, and replace anyone, etc. No, it is a platform for cooperation, economic cooperation, political cooperation. All of us want, though China not so sincere, governance reform. United Nations Security Council must be expanded. Multilateralism should be fostered. IMF and the World Bank should be altered and made more South-friendly, global South-friendly. This is what we want. And we want more aid to the developing countries, the global South. We want greater action for against climate change, etc., etc. The economic objectives are also quite formidable. All of us have one problem. That is, the American dollar is being weaponized. The American dollar is weaponized in the sense that, take Russia, whatever it did to Ukraine, it did to Ukraine. But $300 billion worth of Russian holdings in government securities were frozen and may even be confiscated and used for the reconstruction of Ukraine. And also Russia was kicked out of SWIFT, that is the Society for Worldwide International financial telecommunications. You know, that is a messaging system. Say an Indian bank wants to send money to a Russian bank. First, a message goes through SWIFT that such and such person, such and such bank, for such and such purpose, to such and such bank, such and such amount. After the message is done, you can have actual transfer of money. If the message is not done, then the transfer also cannot be done. For virtually, you have boycotted Russia from the mainstream global economy. That is when every country worth its salt started to look around for alternatives. And so we want an alternative to SWIFT for messaging, number one. We want alternative platforms for money transfer, point number two. At the retail level, point number one. At the wholesale level, point number two. We don't want a common currency, because if you understand what common currency means, you will think it is impossible. Impossible not just now, it is impossible forever. For the reason that these are asymmetric countries. China is 20 trillion, and you also have little Ethiopias also here. So how can you hang on together? You cannot, point number one. And inside there are dissensions, there are fights. Ethiopia, Egypt over Nile. India, China, of course. And then you have the UAE and Iran not getting along. They are sworn enemies. UAE is a part of U2I2. And Iran, of course, is the enemy of UAE for a variety of reasons. And UAE is a signatory to Abraham Accord. And for Iran, Israel doesn't exist. Iran exists for the destruction of Israel. Can there be greater polarization than that? So for all these reasons, you cannot come together fully, but you can have a platform where you can net out the differences and work on common minimum program. And for the common currency, you must give up rupee. Are you ready? Give up for what? So a common currency is impossible, and giving up the monetary sovereignty, giving up the control over interest rates, and so on and so forth. So rule it out. We don't even have to say that India is not for a common currency, because the common currency was floated by the Russian leader in 2024 in the Kazan summit, and nobody took it seriously. Only Donald Trump took it seriously, and he tweeted that just in case you're opting for a common currency, I'm going to impose on you the 100% tariff. That is a fiscal missile he's got. The only missile he has, except for Iran, is the fiscal missile, the tariff missile, and that is how he has warned it. I'm going to show you the tweet a little later on. So common currency is not on the table at all. What do you have on table? See, we can promote a trade in local currency. Why should Indian rupee be converted into dollar and the dollar converted into a Brazilian real, or for that matter, Indonesia rupiah? Let's convert rupee into rupiah directly and vice versa. And you will save a lot of transaction fee, lot of money, and so on and so forth. Exchange rate risk also, and stocking dollars, etc. So we want local currency trade between two countries. India also wants UPI to be internationalized. For example, a traveler from India, tourist from India goes to, let us say, one of the BRICS countries. Let us say which country? Indonesia. And there he wants to pay a certain amount. With his UPI, he can pay the amount. It automatically gets converted into Indonesian rupiahs at the prevailing exchange rate, and the payment is delivered. We already have more than 10 countries with which we have the synchronization with UPI. We want to extend that to the entire BRICS. Within BRICS, we want to have all the countries conform to this. We would like that. And we also, there is a term you must have heard, BRICS Unit. So, we don't want yuan to be the common currency of the BRICS grouping. So what we can do is, let there be a BRICS unit, not a currency, unit like SDR of IMF. So what you do, its valuation towards every currency is set with 40% gold and 60% weighted currency average. And like the SDR is valued. So you value that a certain number of rupees go for a BRICS unit. A certain number of dirhams of UAE go for a certain BRICS unit. So you want to pay the UAE exporter to you. You pay through, convert rupees into BRICS unit. The BRICS unit automatically converts to dirham, and that is how you can have direct trade through the abstract accounting unit called the BRICS unit. It's not kicked in. It is under pilot, and it may kick in. We may announce a little about that when the summit is held next month in Delhi. That's about the BRICS unit. BRICS Pay is UPI synchronized with Russia's, China's, Brazil's respective UPI counterparts. So if you integrate UPI with their similar entities in other countries, then you can have the internationalization of rupee to that extent, and also avoidance of conversion to dollar and back into the other currency, etc., with all the rigmarole, with all the risks also involved. Remember, dollar means risk. Risk of exchange rate fluctuation, risk of America impounding, and risk of sanctions, etc., etc. So the whole game is about reduce the use of dollar because it carries advantages. You have nothing against America. You have nothing against the fact that American dollar is the global reserve currency, first order, and we have nothing against that. It's just that we want to spread the risk and we want to minimize the risk. We hold a lot of dollar, we use a lot of dollar, the world uses it, so do we. And yes, we are comfortable, but never put all your eggs in a single basket. And so BRICS Pay helps you integrate UPI with other member countries' counterparts. And BRICS unit also, conversion to BRICS unit and then conversion to the other currency. And then there is something called Mbridge. M for multi. What? It is a platform, it is a bridge, it's a connector of central banks. It has nothing to do with BRICS except that it overlaps with BRICS. If this is Mbridge, small m, big B, this is BRICS. See the overlap. This is the overlap. Let me explain. So China, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Thailand, Hong Kong, these are the member countries. They are doing a business of conversion, transfer of $55 billion so far, 2026 figure. What does it do? Wholesale CBDC. India has a CBDC, digital rupee, e-rupee. CBDC means central bank digital currency. China has a lot of business being done by that. Others are also in the game. So these 5 countries are there. India is not there. What do these 5 countries do? All the 5 central banks are there. One central bank has to give $100 million worth of local currency to another central bank. Let's say Thailand to UAE. So what they can do is, the Thai central bank can transfer Thai baht to the UAE central bank in the form of UAE dirham. So here is a platform. Central banks are there dealing wholesale transfers, which also include messaging to bypass the SWIFT, and they can transfer their own currency, automatic conversion into the other currency. So no dollar here. You are completely bypassing dollar, completely bypassing SWIFT. So it is very safe. We haven't gotten. There is a reason. The reason is, it is designed and operated, the entire decentralized ledger distribution, all that is done by China. They have the technology, they have the infrastructure, and they have the liquidity, they have the volumes, and therefore, rather than the theoretical route of Thai baht converting directly into UAE dirham, it gets converted to Chinese yuan, and that gets converted into, so in the place of dollar, you have yuan, and the wisdom and prudence demand that we should not switch from one master to another master. We all should be the co-masters. That is, you should not in the name of de-dollarization, you cannot yuanize the economy. You cannot signify the economy. Chinese, economy it should not become. That is why we haven't got into the Mbridge. So here you have so many central banks. That is why it is called Mbridge. M for multi. Multi central bank bridge it is. We have not gotten. BRICS Pay, not operational yet. When it operates, we'll certainly be there because UPI gets internationalized and with all the de-dollarization advantages. And BRICS Unit, we are game for that. NDB, we are taking a lot of money from there. NDB is also, NDB has said that here on it will lend in the form of local currency. So World Bank you go to, World Bank will give you dollars, $1 billion. NDB gives you rupees. You can pay back in rupees. To the World Bank you have to pay back in dollar. Taking dollar is good for RBI, good for the rupee, good for the BOP, good for the capital account, all that. But it is eventually bad because you have to pay back in dollar, that is the exchange rate risk could be very high. NDB here on will be lending lots and lots of money only in rupees, for example, to us, dirham to UAE, etc. Now, how does it get the rupee? Float a bond in India, pick up the rupee, lend it to the Indian demand, Indian corporates. We can ourselves borrow, but then interest rate could be better because NDB is AAA. And the interest rate could be softer than the rate that will be charged upon you if you went to the market directly. And also NDB will be floating masala bonds. Pick up the dollar, convert the dollar into rupee, lend in rupee and take back in rupees. Exchange rate risk is completely borne by the NDB. That is how RBI benefits, BOP benefits, Indian economy benefits, and the company is comfortable because it has to take loan in rupee and give back in rupee at the exchange rate at which you had borrowed. Interest is also in rupee. The lender, via the NDB, the lender lends in dollar, picks up the interest in dollar, gets repaid in dollar. So everyone's happy about the masala bond. NDB will do that. So we are comfortable with NDB, BRICS Unit, BRICS Pay, and also the local currency trade without involvement of a dollar. So this is how far we have come. What are the achievements? Achievements are, it is an alternative platform, number one, the face of global south point, number two, expanding, number three, it can check and balance the hegemony of America, number four, and it can help in the reform of UN, though China is not sincere, number five, and on all the hotspots in the world and all the developmental aspect, climate change, AI, this summit, India summit, will have a lot to say about AI, strengthening finance for MSME, and then the UPI, all this. So yes, it is a growing platform with an alternative voice where the South matters. And the more members of BRICS, the better, because there will be more population, more area, more trade, etc. This is where we stand on the BRICS. We will be there to talk about the BRICS as it transpires in the New Delhi summit 12 and 13 of next month, that is September 12 and 13. It will be held here in New Delhi and we will certainly take stock of it. But we have already indicated what's going to happen there. The issues are the same. More of the same will happen in Delhi, and it will leave the fingerprints of Delhi in the sense of UPI, MSME, AI, climate change, and UN reforms, etc., etc. That is my introduction to the BRICS as it is evolving, and we will see graphic by graphic and explain all that to you just now. So here it is, 10 members, population, imagine 1.4 of India, 1.4 of China, and you have Indonesia, population, we are here, 48% of the world. Global GDP, nominal means exchange rate, as we exchange in the market. There we are at 30% of the global GDP, and the global trade is 26%. When you take the purchasing power parity, we catapult because we are about 16 trillion. China would be over 30 trillion. Together we are 46. So on the purchasing power parity front, we have overtaken the G7. Overtaken the G7. So this is the list of statistics which make you feel great. This is the history of expansion. I told you about Jim O'Neill. You'll see his photograph a little later. 2006, foreign ministers. 9, the first summit, Yekaterinburg, Russia. Then comes 10, South Africa. Then you have 5 more countries. Indonesia, 4 countries then. Next year, Indonesia. China assumes next year the chairpersonship. I told you Saudi Arabia has been pressured not to join by Trump. Argentina ruled it out because Javier Milei of Argentina and Donald Trump of America are the best friends. They think alike, and therefore Argentina joining under this leadership is ruled out. So here are the flags, all the 10 countries. Why expansion matters? I told you, global south, economic weight, voice in governance, etc. Here you have the purchasing power parity number. Together, all the 10 countries account for $70 trillion, $70 trillion, which is about 40% of the global GDP. Global trade, they account for about less than 30%. Intra-BRICS trade, 750, but it's picking up. You know why it is picking up? Because I told you in 2008, the global financial crisis is responsible for the coming up of BRICS. And identically, in 2005, when Donald Trump took over as the president and he started using his tariff policy recklessly, mindlessly, to his own self-damage, then we all thought that America is not predictable, America is going to be hurtful, and therefore let us do more of the trade together, let us de-dollarize, etc. We are not against the American dollar, against the American policy. It's just that we are safeguarding our own self-interest by, stepping away from US dollar and using local currencies and, if possible, abstract units, accounting units like BRICS Unit, etc., etc. So in both the cases, it's America that is responsible, America and its senseless, mindless policies which are responsible for bringing BRICS into action in 2009 and bringing BRICS closer together and expanding the number of BRICS members. For both, America is responsible. So intra-BRICS trade is $750 billion. It could be much more in future. So what have we achieved? New Development Bank, CRA, local currency trade, membership growth, economic weight has improved, global south voice, all this. And wait till the 12th, 13th of next month for the Delhi summit, and you will have more achievements. You could add them. Now, by then, your main will be over, and for your interview, you could add more points after the summit is over, so that you are up to date. Institutions, once again, NDB, CRA, BRICS Pay yet to come into action, local currency going on, and some academics and science and technology. Expect a lot of AI to come up, MSME to come up, UPI to come up in the Delhi summit. India, BRICS. Why are we there? I've already told you. Global South and UN and local currency and stepping away from dollar, etc. And the challenges, internal tensions are a challenge, and economic progress is a challenge. Thinking alike on the UN is also, thinking is fine, acting. China should actively support India's candidature for a permanent membership of the UNSC with veto. Only then are Chinese intentions, good intentions, established. Till then, China is suspect that it is using BRICS for its own ascendancy at the expense of the national interests of other member countries. So that's where we are. I've told you 24, it was Kazan, Russia. Last year, Brazil. This year India, next year China. This is how it is. So we can have other slides also which amplify this. All this we have discussed. We have seen it in the earlier mega graphic. So contingent reserve arrangement, we have seen all this. What India wants: global south, governance reforms, local currency, UPI, development funding, particularly for MSME, balanced diplomacy. We want to multipolarize the world. We don't want single country dominating the hegemony, which is not good for anyone, because that's going to be used as a weapon. You will have sanctions, you will have bans and all that, which is not good for the world, which is not good for individual countries. And therefore, we are carefully calibrating a rebalancing of the world, for which BRICS is an important platform. 18th BRICS Summit in India, 12-13 September. Wait for it, watch for it. This is the agenda. I told you MSME, we would like more finance. UPI, multilateral governance reforms, UN, IMF, WTO, etc. Multilateralism. We will not allow the agenda to include anti-Americanism. Russia wants it, China wants it, we don't want it. Iran wants it, we don't want it. And we don't want to praise America also. We want multilateralism, multipolarity, UN, WB, IMF, WTO, soft power also. We want the American nation to contribute to various items like climate change, etc. We won't say it directly because the Trump threat is a live one. Remember, congressional elections in November, he'll be at his political vitriolic best from September to November. So we should not antagonize him, irritate him. Do what you can, cooperate, come together, be of productive, good value, and not antagonistic value to America, which is neither tactically nor strategically good, because in the place of America, you will have China, which is not good. Go slowly, go steadily, build an alternative worldview which is viable and pro-South. Local currency lending. I told you NDB would love to lend in rupees because, de-dollarization, that's another step. And there'll be a lot talked about China. I would like China to commit itself to. We will give them critical minerals. We will give them permanent magnets. China is already doing some soft work in terms of open source, open weight AI. We would like China to come forward even more to lend a helping hand in terms of building AI which is respectful of national sovereignty, sovereign AI. That's what we expect. This is the lineup of the summits. You could add one or two more also in the past. BRICS Pay, I've told you everything about it. Project Mbridge. M, I told you, is for multi-central bank. Multi-central bank. BRICS Unit simplified. I've simplified it to you. BRICS Unit. Common currency is ruled out. How silly can we get in saying the BRICS currency, common currency like euro on the table? No, it can never be. Rule that out forever and ever. Various other transitional steps are there, small steps are there. They are also very useful. We'll do that. Like I've explained all that to you. Challenging the global economic order. We are not challenging. We are only adding value to the global economic order, NDB, CRA, etc., etc., so that the global economic order is pro-global south, pro-developing countries, anti-conditionalities, pro-welfare and pro-common good, etc. That's all we want. We are not challenging anyone. So we come back here to the summarization. That's where it stands. I have discussed everything about the common currencies. I have discussed about the euro and so on and so forth in this book. It's been read by the students for the last many, many years. Please look to this for further help. Wish you all the best.